start?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Jai Shri Krishna. Good evening. So now we'll take the going of Krishna to Mathura. Now, we have seen that in spite all his attempts, Kans could not kill Krishna. So then he decides to call Krishna and Balram to what you call Mathura, and there is a Dhanur Yagna, and he invites them for the Dhanur Yagna. So even though Kans was not popular among the Yadavs, they did not like him. He was still their king, and so he called uh, a very senior Yadav who was very popular and liked by everyone and respected by everyone, and his name was Akrura. Krur means cruelty and the absence of cruelty. So here we have a person who, on the steps of consciousness, has risen and risen above his animal nature, who no longer is pulled down into his animal nature, who is free of his animal nature. So he was an important leader in the Yadav clan, and he was also a grand uncle of Krishna. And he gives him an order as a king, even though Akrura did not want to listen to what you call Kamsa, because Kamsa was the king. He says, go to what you call Vrindavan and go to the home of the chief cowherd over there, Nanda. Uh, and there are two sons of Vasudev staying at his home, and bring them to Mathura. Please do not, what you call, please go as fast as possible. Don't hold any delay, he tells him. And he tells Akrura that Narada had told him that the Devas had gone to Narayan, Vishnu, and told him to take human form to kill Kans. And he knows that this eighth child of Krishna is Narayan, and is destined to kill him. But I can protect myself, Kans says. It is only when man is unprepared for an event in life that death overtakes him. So Kans still feels that he'll be able to, what you call, kill Krishna, even though so many of his attempts have failed. And he tells Akrura that as soon as they come to Mathura, I will see that they are killed. Okay, I've already arranged their death, and no blame will be attached to me. Now, here we have to see that there are parallel events happening in the Bhagavad. That here, whilst Kans is saying something and telling Akrura to go to Vrindavan, and in Vrindavan, Narada has come to meet Krishna. We'll go into that. But here, after telling Akrura to what you call go to Vrindavan to bring the boys to Mathura, Kans goes into a kind of daydreaming, and in that daydreaming he starts boasting, right? And we can see that deep down inside he's frightened and he's trying to cover up his fear by boasting on the outside. He tells Akrura that after killing Krishna, he will destroy all his other enemies, include he will also kill Nand and the whole clan in Gokul he will kill. He will kill Krishna's father. He will also kill his own father Ugrasen, as well as Krishna's parents Devaki and Vasudev. Then he says, I will arrange for my elephant, Kuvalyapid, to crush Krishna and Balram, and if they survive him, I will send my two wrestlers, Chanur and Mustik. So here we know that the only friends that Kans had was amongst the wrestling community, amongst the Mal community. Then he says, Jarasan, the king of Magad, is my father-in-law. And then he names a number of Asurs who are his friends. And he says, after killing these children and with the help of all Jarasan and all these Asurs, I will be the greatest monarch, greatest king in the world. And he is boasting. And then he closes his eyes, and as if he's dreaming that he is the king of the world, he has got everything what he wanted. Now, Akrura did not want to go, but being the king, he had to carry out his, what do you call, orders out of respect for the position of a king. But before going, he gave him a piece of advice. And he says that whatever you do, you cannot change the natural order of things. And if it is this boy is destined to kill you, he is going to kill you. Now, like we said, his name was Akrura, and in his heart he had already recognized Krishna as the divine form of Vishnu, and so in his heart he was already a devotee of Krishna, and so that's why he was very happy that he was going to what do you call Vrindavan to get the children. And he felt a great excitement within himself that he is going to meet the divine incarnation of God. He was thankful that this good fortune had come to him, that he was going to pick up the children. Now, this event is happening in Mathura. Like we said, there is something happening in parallel time, and that is happening in what you call Vrindavan at the same time. So here we see that Kamsa is telling Akrura that you have to go to Vrindavan, but at the same time that this is happening in Mathura, Narada has come to Vrindavan. And he has come specially to visit Krishna. Now, this is very, very beautiful, this whole episode in the Bhagavad. From that moment, he recounts to Krishna all the events which were going to happen in his life. So, what we see from this moment, that Krishna had no choice in choosing the events of his life. The events of his life were already ordained, already, what do you call it, was his fate, that these were the events of his life. And I've just taken a few of them because we can't go into everything, but just to give us an idea of what Narad is saying over here. Now, before he's telling, now before he tells Krishna anything, he first sings a stuti in praise of Krishna. And in that stuti, he says, "You are formless, but you have taken form for a certain purpose. You are the Lord of the universe, Yogeshwar. It is your Maya that allows Prakriti to create the universe through the operation of the three gunas. Everything is born from you and everything is withdrawn into you. You are Ishwar who resides in the heart of every being, and not only are in the heart of every being, but you are in the heart of everything." Then he says, 2 days from now, right, I will have the pleasure of seeing you brothers kill Mushtik and Chanur. Later there will be and also Kans, and later there will be the killing of Shankha, Kalyavan, Mura, Narkasur. He gives a whole list of what Krishna is going to do in the future from there. He says, "I will see you married to many maidens. I will see you burn the city of Kashi. You are time and time is within you. Time comes from your, what do you call it, comes from within you." And then he tells all the events of the Mahabharata, about the Rajsuya Yagna which Yudhishthir is going to perform, about the killing of Sishupal, about the building of the city of Dwarka. You may not realize it, but within a few days you will realize the reason for why you have come on earth. And you will, what do you call, bring back the path of Dharma. You will fight the great war of Mahabharata. You will be the charioteer of Arjuna. You will destroy Akshoni after of armies during the great war in Kurukshetra. And he says that in that war, it is by your hands that everyone will die, even though it will look like as if Arjuna has killed everyone, but it is you who will be killing everyone. And then Narad leaves. He told him everything, all the events. So we see here all the events in Krishna's life were decided beforehand, that is, after he is 11 years old. So here Narad has recounted the events of Krishna's life in parallel time. In Mathura, Kans is daydreaming that I will be the king of the world. And before he goes, Narad says, "You have 2 more days to do what you want. After that, you don't have any choice in what you have to do. You have to do what is ordained for you." And the poet here writes, the writer of the Bhagavad says, "For time had been waiting for this moment in time. Time itself was waiting. Kal was waiting for this moment in time. The play of Krishna was about to begin. 2 days more, and the earth would be rid of Kamsa, and it would be the beginning of great events which Krishna would set in motion." All this was waiting in the womb of time, in the garbha of time, and now that, like a, what do you call, what a key of a toy unfolds, that key will start unwinding and time will start opening up and these events will come. So we see these two events happening in parallel time. One comes deciding to kill Krishna, and inviting Krishna to Mathura through Akrura, And here we see Narad telling Krishna of his destiny. Now, where was free will in the life of Krishna? If everything was decided, where was free will in the life of Krishna? So, for that, we will take three different words. Fate, destiny, and fortune. Now, in normal conversation, in normal what you call talking, fate and destiny sometimes are exchanged, right? But we are going to go into the technical what you call part of it and try to understand what Narad has said to Krishna. So sometimes these words are used interchangeably, but we will see them as three different forces altogether. And these three forces make up the drama of life. Sometimes fate is active, sometimes destiny is active, sometimes destiny is passive, sometimes fortune is active, and we will try to understand these three words in relation to the drama of Krishna's life. Fate, niyati. And I'll just give you one of my gurus, like I said, was Ram Dulare Bapu. And he had this beautiful saying, सब कुछ नियोजित है फिर भी उसका आयोजन करना पड़ता है, right? Everything is fate, predestined, and still we have to make the effort for it to happen, right? And we'll try to understand that in relation to the life of Krishna. So fate means a predetermined course of events, a predetermined future. These events are going to come in his life. In Krishna's life, this was his fate to go through all these events. This was his fate. The word fate comes from the Latin word fatum, means decree, prediction. That is, it sort of implies that there is some outside agency that decides the course of events of our life. That is, it is called fatality. These are the events of our life. As if somebody has written down the course of events of our life. So here we see Narada is telling Krishna these are the events, just as he's telling him that you will one day be Arjun's charioteer, right? Now, so he's telling him all these events of his life. So there is a what you call group called the fatalism where they believe that every event has been fixed by fate and those events are not changeable. They cannot be changed by any human agency. In other words, humans cannot alter their fate. Now we will go into this whether it is possible or not. And in different religions, this outside agency has been given different names. So the Hindus call it the law of karma. Other religions talk it is the natural order of events. Right? Now let us look at the second word, destiny. Destiny is always in the present moment. Right? Here, Narada has given an outline of Krishna's future. But in each event of his future, that is, in each separate event, when that event is happening, it is happening in the present moment. And how does he work in the event? That is his destiny. Right? Destiny comes from the word destination. Right? What is my aim? Where do I want to reach? Where do I want to go? What is my, what do you call, lakshya? Destiny has the feeling of reaching somewhere, reaching your destination, reaching your goal in life. What we call apna mukam par pahunchu. So We can take one event in Krishna's life, say the killing of Dronacharya. That is an event which happens in the life of Krishna. Now that event has been given by what you call Narad. He has told them that this is the event in your life, the killing of Dronacharya. Now, where does Krishna's free will come? In the event of killing Dronacharya, it is his free will how to take that event to its destination. I don't know if I'm coming across in this. Can, can you understand? So, in how to make that event happen, for the event to reach its destination, right? It that is Krishna's own free will, and that free will, in that free will, he tells what you call Yudhishthir to tell a lie that Ashwatthama has died, and that is how he brought about the fulfillment, the destination of the event which fate had told him of killing of Dronacharya. It may be a little difficult to understand, but I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. So fate, the events are decided, that is fatality, but what you call destiny is not fatality, it is your free will, how you are going to make that event happen. So now what is will? What is will? There are two types of will we will take. One is will of the ego and one is will of the soul. Right? As we rise in consciousness, we slowly drop the will of the ego and make use of will of the soul. Will of the soul. We live in the what do you call in the what do you call kind of maya that the will, through the will of the ego we can do certain things. Of course, Gurdjieff says man cannot do, but we don't realize that the will of the ego is run through the momentum of past sanskars. I'm just trying to bring it across. It is not, in actuality, it is not a free will. Can you understand? Right? I want to earn money, so that is definitely not the will of the soul, it is will of the ego. But my sanskars will take me on the will of how I will go about earning the money. I may cheat somebody and earn it. I may deceive somebody and earn it. I may what you call make an effort and earn it, etc., etc. So that is, I think it is my free will that I want to cheat somebody, that is why I am cheating somebody. I don't realize that it is a sanskar of cheating which is forcing me to cheat someone. Am I coming across in this? Right? So the will of the ego is not real, in reality free will. The will of the soul is free will. And the will of the soul has only one will, to use attention in a way that we rise in consciousness. It is not interested in anything else. So we are in the event, but how we reach our destination in the event is our free will. Destiny is in the present moment. Now, in each moment of life, can we drop the will of the ego and use the will of the soul? That is, can we bring, it can only be done by bringing consciousness to the present moment, otherwise the will of the ego will operate mechanically. So in this moment, I am in a event. That event has been decided by fate, right? The law. But in this event, can I fulfill my destiny? And what is my destiny in this event? My real destiny is only one, that when this event is over, have I climbed a one step of consciousness, or have I fallen down deeper into the hypnosis or the maya or the what you call sleep of life? Right? And that is my destiny. That as each event comes in my life, uh, do I what you call fulfill my destiny? Do I reach my destination? Do I take the event voluntarily or involuntarily? If I take the event involuntary, then it is the ego struggling with the event. Then it will be the will of the ego. The will of the ego always wants to change circumstances. It never wants to adapt to the event. But if I can bring in the will of the soul, bring in consciousness, then I relax in the event. From involuntary, I move to voluntary. I accept the fact of the event, and I then try to fulfill my destiny of rising in consciousness. So, how do I take an event? Do I take it voluntarily, involuntarily? Do I take it with like? Do I take it with dislike? Do I take it with irritation? Do I take it with anger? Do I take it with acceptance? And how I take the event and rise in the event is my destiny, is my destiny. Now I am in the event, but I am daydreaming in the event, right? Then I am using the will of the ego. But I am in the event, I am sensing the event, I am bringing energy of sensitivity to the event, then I am using will of the soul. The will of the ego always takes us to a deeper level of slavery, right? Deeper into the prison of life. The will of the soul takes us towards freedom. It takes us up into freedom. So we see that in each event of life, Krishna chooses the path of dharma. Dharma is the path which leads to higher consciousness. Dharma is the path which gets rid of evil. Dharma is that path which brings positivity, right? So in each event, Krishna is allowing the destiny, is using his free will to bring about the destiny of fulfilling the what do you call path of rising in consciousness. So he knew that the events were predetermined by the director of the drama. He cannot change the events in the Krishna Leela, but he can play them with a positive attitude of joy, with a inner sense of totality, without getting attached to the event, no like and dislike, not getting attached to the event, and by rising in consciousness. And we will see this is the story of his life. In each event of life, he is able to, what do you call, move the event in such a way that it goes on the path of dharma. The destination is the path of dharma. But if there is desire, then desire attaches us to the event, right? And then we have a concept of whether we are going to get happiness from the event, whether the event will fulfill our desire, etc. Now we look at the third word, fortune. third word is. And then we look at the combination of all three. Thank you. Fortune is the feeling of fulfillment we get when we reach our destination, when we, what we call, allow our destiny to unfold. That is the taste which is left in our mouth after the event is over. What is the fulfillment? Has the event brought happiness? Has the event brought sadness? Has the event brought frustration? Has the event brought fulfillment? That is the fortune, the final, prasad of the event is fortune. Whether it was a success, whether it was a failure, did it bring pleasure, did it bring pain, unhappiness, happiness, satisfaction, dissatisfaction, did it bring good fortune or did it bring misfortune? This is the part of fortune. Now in normal life, there is a very lower definition of fortune, and we have to look at that. And then the definition of fortune for a seeker in spirituality will change, right? So we'll have to look at both these. Supposing there is an event of an interview. So in normal life, I will say that if I get the job, it is good fortune. And if I fail in the interview, it is misfortune, right? So in normal life, I will say my destiny is to get the job, and right, and if I don't get the job, right, then I have not fulfilled my destiny. It is then the result of the event is misfortune. Am I coming in this? Or pain or suffering or whatever. So success or failure depends on the outcome of the event, on the outcome of the event. But for the seeker, the person who's moving on the path of spirituality, the what you call success or failure is not on the outcome of the event, but how did he go through the event is success or failure. Did he go through the event consciously or did he go through the event mechanically? For the spiritual seeker, whether he gets the job or he does not get the job, both are the same thing, both are sum. Can you see? He has risen above that state, right? But for him, that did he go for the interview with self-consciousness or did he go for the interview in a state of sleep or in a state of mechanicalness or in the maya of life? Am I coming across in this, right? So for the spiritual seeker, it is not the result of the event which is good fortune, it is how he proceeds in the event. His destination is to rise in consciousness. He is not bothered whether he gets the job or does not get the job. Many times he will get the job, and then when he goes home and reflects, he'll say, I went through the whole thing mechanically, right? There was no self-consciousness. I did not rise in consciousness. So even there was, though we normally call it as good fortune, right, that he got the job, but for the seeker, because he did it mechanically, he did not proceed through the whole event. His destination was to rise in consciousness. He did not rise in consciousness. So for him, it is misfortune, not good fortune. And this is something very difficult to digest, right? So fortune is the outcome of the event. At a mechanical level in life, at the level of the ego, good fortune and bad fortune means something. At the level of the soul, right? Because the soul has only one destination, to rise, the level of the soul, good fortune and bad fortune, misfortune means something totally different. Now, so he got the job, but he dropped it consciousness, right? He did not get the job, but he approached the whole thing consciously. So he fulfilled his destination of rising in consciousness. Now, now let us go a little more deeper into this, a little more deeper, because this is something which every spiritual seeker should understand, right? And normally people don't talk about this, right? Uh, Now, Patanjali has a set of sutras on karma. Of course, I don't want to go into all those sutras today. But he's talking about good fortune and bad fortune, what we are talking about. Good fortune he calls as alad. Alad means happiness. Prahlad, alad, happiness, right? Happiness. Paritap. Tap means suffering. Tap means pain, suffering, right? Paritap means parikrama, round, round, a continuous process of suffering, or what do you call, which keeps on coming. Paritap. Te alad paritap falaha. Punya apunya hetutvat. Right? Good fortune or misfortune depends on what your motive was at the time of fulfilling your destiny. Good fortune or misfortune depends on what your hetutvat. Hetu means your motive. What your motive was at the time of fulfilling your destiny. Right? So at the time of fulfilling my destiny, my aim was to rise in consciousness. Right? And if I've risen in consciousness, and even if I've not got the, what do you call, job which I was asking for, it will bring me happiness, he's saying, alad. Because there was the right motive, the punya motive of rising in consciousness. Right? But te alad paritap phala, the phal will be either happiness or sadness, depending on the hetu, the motive at the time of sowing. At the time of sowing. So Patanjali is saying that in the moment of sowing, what was your motive? What was your sanskar at that time? What was the motive? And that will depend whether it will bring happiness or suffering. Now try to understand this. This is very deep, very, very deep. At the time of sowing, my, what do you call, was not to rise in consciousness. I wanted to get the job at any cost. So I was totally identified with getting the job, totally identified with the interview. I went through it mechanically, right? And I even got the job. But Patanjali is saying that job is not going to bring happiness. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Because at the time of fulfilling that destiny, when you were fulfilling that destiny, your motive was wrong. Your motive was to get it by hook or by crook. Can you now you understand what I'm trying? So even though I may get the job, I may earn the money, but whether that money will bring real happiness or not, Patanjali puts a question over here. We have a very famous example which I've been repeating quite often these days, that in the Muslim tradition there was these, what you call, many wars which were fought with the children and grandchildren of the Prophet Muhammad and other sultans who did not want the religion to expand. And here there was a war between one this one of the, what you call, grandchildren and another king, and that king is down on the ground, and this person, he's maybe I don't remember his name, maybe it was Hussein. He's holding the sword at his throat. Then he doesn't kill him. He goes out of the battle and he comes back, and again there's fighting in the battle. Again he has the king on the ground, and then he takes his sword and kills him. Later on, people ask him, why didn't you kill him the first time? When you had him on the ground, why didn't you kill him on the first time? He said, at that time my thoughts were full of revenge, my thoughts were full of anger, and I would be sowing the wrong motive. I would be sowing the wrong motive, it is the wrong seed of karma in killing him. Right? The act of killing was destined. The act of killing, but at the moment of killing, that time I was in compassion for him. I said, he's not understanding this. That is why we have to kill him. It is something which had to be done. There was no anger inside. There was no thought of revenge inside. There was no aggressiveness inside. And so that killing is something which happened because of a higher order, right? So can you see? The act is the same of killing the king. But if he had killed through anger, if he had killed through aggressiveness, if he had killed that I am a great hero, right, then it would have been one seed, a punya, and if he is killing through just performing his act as a servant of the higher, it is punya. So this so how do you reach your destination? And that destination is to rise in consciousness. If he had done it in the first way, he would have fallen in consciousness. In the second way, he rose in consciousness. So these are three things: fate, destiny, and fortune, right? And we must understand them in this. Now we can go a little deeper into this. What decides our fate? What decides the events of life? What is the inner invitational factor that before we are born invites the, what you call, events of life? That Narada is telling Krishna that these are the events of your life. Now we saw that our soul is like a broken dish. Radha is like a broken dish. Krishna is the other part of the dish. And both are moving towards an inner fulfillment, inner merging. And this inner merging of the soul and the higher Atma or the spirit, right? That merging of the two parts of the plate can only be done by rising in consciousness, right? So every soul, every human soul is seeking fulfillment, is seeking completeness, is seeking wholeness, is seeking perfection. Can you see these two dishes moving together? Even if a small part of the two dishes can be merged in one lifetime, it is a great achievement we have done. Great achievement. So, and this yearning of the soul for fulfillment we see in every event of life, every event of life. Now, around 5 years in the child, the ego is formed, and the ego creates a misconception in every human being that this fulfillment of the soul which wants to reach that sense of purna, sense of completeness, can be fulfilled by the fulfillment of desire. Right? So man has multiple desires and he thinks that by fulfilling desires, the soul will reach its destiny of completion, which is not possible. And this false conception that the soul can be what you call reach completeness by fulfillment of desire is what we call as Maya. Maya. And the ego wants to seek that fulfillment through money, through power, through success, and none of this touches the yearning of the soul for fulfillment. Now, the soul knows that it needs a certain kind of event for it to rise in consciousness. Now, supposing the material in which the soul is, because the soul is in planetary material in work, supposing a lot of that material is a negative part of Mars, just say, right? So, martial material but negative. So, the soul knows that in his go down, he has a lot of anger. And the soul wants freedom. It wants freedom. So it will invite events in life which allow me to be angry, and by bringing consciousness to the situation, it will free itself from anger. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? Right? So the soul, now this is my fate. What is my fate? Those kind of events which will bring anger. The soul has invited them. Why is it invited them? To be free from anger. When those events come, if I'm not conscious, if I'm mechanical in those events, then the ego will say, it is her fault that I am angry, and the ego will say, put her in her place. So instead of being free from anger, I will be more angry, and the soul will be more bound in anger. Am I coming across in this? So I have not fulfilled my destiny in that event of life. The soul had invited my fate of being angry, right? And instead of fulfilling my destiny in that event of being angry, I fell down in that and I became more mechanical. So all the events of our life are predestined, in the sense the quality of events for the soul to be free. Do we fulfill our destiny in each event, or do we increase our ego in each event? And like we said, fortune is the outcome of the event, right? In this moment, if I have sown the seed of consciousness, if I've freed myself of the anger, if I've what you call destroyed the pattern of anger which was making me a victim, a slave, in that moment there is freedom. I sow a new seed of consciousness, and that seed of consciousness can only bring happiness in the future, right? And that is the what you call, what Patanjali is saying, te ala the paritapa falaha. At the moment of sowing, what was your motive? Was your motive to get more angry, or was your motive to be free of anger? That will decide whether that event will bring happiness or what you call suffering in the future. So Narada has told uh, what do you call Krishna all the events of his life. That is his niyojan. सब कुछ नियोजित है. Everything is decided in Krishna's life. फिर भी उसका आयोजन करना पड़ता है, right? And that is in each moment Krishna will walk towards his destiny. And only one good fortune in this, and that is whether it is towards freedom or towards more slavery. And that is the outcome of each event. So Kamsa was desire, more daydreaming, and now it is going to lead to his destiny, the destiny of death, right? All dreams are going to die one day, all desires are going to die one day. It is only if we rise above desire, freedom from desire, right, that can last, which never dies. It is something which is eternal. So Akrura goes to Vrindavan, right? And he's very excited to meet Krishna. On arrival, as he's entering Gokul and Vrindavan, that area, he first sees the footprints of Krishna. And because he had already risen in consciousness, we see the name Akrura, the one who is free of cruelty, the one who is free of animalism, the one who is free of reaction, lower reactions, right? He is able to make out that these footprints are the marks of Krishna, the footprints of Krishna. And in that he sees the lotus, he sees the swastik, he sees the flag pattern, Dvaja, and he sees the Shankha. Sees the Shankha. Now these are all very important. This thing. Lotus, that which grows out of the mud but is never what you call in attached to the mud. There is always a gap between the mud and the flowering of the lotus. So that which grows in the sansar of life but is not affected by sansar, and that is consciousness within us. So the flowering of consciousness is represented by the lotus. Swastik. Swastik comes from the word su asti. Su asti. Asti is what is. Su is very prosperous, very good. Everything that is excellent is su. So su asti. In this moment, everything is overflowing, everything is prosperous. And we will see the swastik has a kind of what you call clockwise movement, a clockwise movement. And when we move in, when we sense energies in life, when we feel prana in life, we want to turn those movements from anti-clockwise to clockwise. Dvaj means a flag. Flag is the fluttering of the mind, right? But the one who has controlled the fluttering of the mind, that is the symbol of the Dvaj in his footprint. And finally of Shankha, Shaman Kare Shankha, the one which brings peace, the vibration which brings happiness, that is Shankha. So when he sees these footprints and he is going into what you call Vraja, and he leaps out of the chariot and he starts rolling in the ground where those footprints are. And he's shedding tears of devotion to Krishna. And as he is doing this, he sees Krishna in the distance, and he runs to him and he bows down at his feet. He couldn't even introduce himself. He was so overwhelmed with joy at the meeting of Krishna. Krishna lifts him up and embraces him. And when he's lifting him up, Akrura opens his eyes and looks at the hands of Krishna, and he sees they are marked with the symbol of the lotus and the Sudarshan Chakra. Krishna recognizes him. He does not have to say, I am Akrura. They welcome him, take him to Nand's house. They wash his feet, and they then give him good food to eat and drink, and he gets refreshed after his journey. He tells them that Kamsa has invited them, him and Balram, to Mathura for the Lord Shiva festival of the Dhanur Yagya, and to participate in that. The boys sing both of them together, they sing a stuti, for Akrura, praising Akrura, describing his deep good qualities which were lying within him. Now, as soon as Akrura's chariot came into the Gokul area or the Vrindavan area, word spread throughout the Vraj area that Akrura has come to take Krishna, right? It was like wildfire, the word spread. And throughout Vraj, there was suddenly as if everybody was experiencing an inner cloud of pain inside. I mean, they already knew that Krishna would have to leave. The gopis went into grief. I mean, they could not bear the thought that Krishna was going to go away. They shed tears. They started talking amongst themselves, the gopis, that this person is so cruel. How is his name? Akrura, right? And they started chatting amongst themselves. And Akrura took the boys towards Mathura, and the whole of the Vraj, all the gopis, everybody, they stood watching the chariot go away. Now, in that watching of the chariot going away, it was so powerful, that scene. They all went into a trance as if they had been transported to the top of the Himalayas, all of them. And they were watching the chariot go away, but in consciousness they were transported to as if a higher inner asan, uch asan, what is called in the Bhagavad. So on reaching Mathura, Akrura asks them he invites the two boys to his home and says, let me invite you to my home. But they they decide to sleep in the gardens of Kamsa's palace. But just like wildfire spread through Gokul and Vrindavan that Akrura had come to take the boys, even as the boys entered Mathura, throughout Mathura, everybody had got to know that the boys who were destined to kill Kamsa had come to Mathura. Mathura was a beautiful city. These boys had come from a village. They had never seen a city like this, as if for somebody from a small village has come to Mumbai or something and seeing all the skyscrapers and everything. And so they were thrilled by the delights of Mathura. So the next day they slept in the gardens, then the next day in their chariot they started moving through the streets of Mathura. They were so, They were so, what do you call, I mean, mesmerized by the beauty of the city. At one point, they were so mesmerized by the beauty of the city that they left their chariot and they started walking. And when wherever they were walking, people would come. People would come on the balconies, throw flowers on them, and it was as if in the whole of Mathura there was a celebration for this. Everybody was talking about the deeds of Krishna, how he had killed Putana, the other, what do you call, Rakshasas, demons, and all that. And this was like in the whole of Mathura. And people had, what do you call, hated Kans for his cruel rule. And so they were very happy with the boys coming there. Now, as they walk through the streets of Mathura, they encounter a tree worker. She introduces herself as tree worker, but she's a kubja or a hunchback, and she's the maid servant of Kamsa. She has a very beautiful face, but she was hunched, and because of that, her husband had left her. Now she's carrying a, what do you call, plate of ointment which Kansa was to apply on his face and on his body, to bring about a shine, like cold cream or something of that sort, right? And Krishna sings a stuti in her praise that you are so beautiful. And she's a hunchback, and here Krishna is singing what do you call, stuti in her praise that you are such a beautiful person, right? And so she says, what would you like? So he says, that which you're carrying for Kans, you give that ointment to me, let me apply it to my body. And he applies it to his own body. Now, here the Bhagavad says that Krishna presses his toes on her feet, places a finger from both hands under her chin, and raises her body with the fingers, and she who was hunchbacked became straight, and it was the word spread throughout Mathura that he has performed a miracle. And this Kubja, she was very famous in Mathura, right? And that three worker, the three, what do you call, three bends in the body, right, were made straight. They were made straight. In that becoming, she's so beautiful. She's, what do you call, she sees Krishna and she sort of gets a deep inner, what do you call, desire for Krishna, and she invites Krishna to her home. And Krishna says, I will come later, not now. This is how it is said in the Bhagavad. Now, I'll just go into, because uh, in my life I've learned from many people. Many people have been my gurus, and one of them was Swami Brahmvedanji. And out of the few incidents which I've discussed with him, one of them was this incident of Kubja, which, even though I did not discuss, he told me that this is not right what they have written in the, what do you call, Bhagavad, right? Now, Krishna was called Tribhang, right? And so when we see a statue of Krishna, and this is one of the deepest mysteries of the statue of Krishna, that it is not three workers, not three crooked, three breaks in three places. Three breaks in three places. And this three bhang means that the Kundalini energy has risen and gone through the three granthis, and when it moves through the three granthis, it creates three bhangs in the body. The three granthis are the Brahma Granthi, the Vishnu Granthi, and the Rudra Granthi. The knot of the Brahma Granthi, when it is broken, it frees us from all our primal patterns, all the animal patterns. It is between the Muladhara Chakra and Swadhisthana Chakra. It transforms the sex energy. The Brahma Granthi, the next Granthi is the Vishnu Granthi between the Manipur Chakra and the Anahat Chakra, and that brings real love in our life, love which is not an opposite, it love which is a flame of love, which the light falls on anyone who comes in front of us. And then it breaks the Rudra Granthi, which is in the throat, right? And it gets rid of Abhiman and arrogance, and what do you call it? Opens up the higher centers where the grace of God descends. So these three bhangs in Krishna's posture, when we study what do you call fine arts, it is called as contrapposta, right? And we will see also in Italy and many of Michelangelo's what do you call statues have this contrapposta kind of thing. So three breaks in his statue, and these three breaks are the movement of the upward movement of the Kundalini energy, which has broken the three knots which keep man in Maya all the time. So Swami Brahmavedanji told me that he did not heal her by putting his hands. They entered into union. She invited him into her home. They entered into union, and because the Kundalini energy was overflowing, what do you call in Krishna? Three bhangs met three workers, three crookedness, and the three bhangs healed the three crookedness. And this was something which, and I sort of feel that his interpretation is a much higher and much, what do you call, deeper interpretation of what is written in the Bhagavad. Now, we must understand that the sex center cannot be observed. Thoughts can be observed. After many years and years of practice, emotions can also be observed. So, we can get self knowledge, that is inner knowledge, through observing thoughts and observing feelings. But to observe the movement of sex energy, we have to dissolve into the sex energy and come back. We cannot observe the sex energy as we observe a thought or we observe a feeling. It is too fast for the process of observation. And so the study of sex energy can only be done by entering into the energy, dissolving into the energy, and coming back. This dissolving and coming back is the movement of dissolving the form and the coming back of form, right? And something like that happened between Kubja or the Trivarka and Krishna. There was all forms were broken down, and then there was a remodeling of form, and she had lost her, what do you call it? She became a beautiful woman again. In the sex center, there is no duality. In thinking, there is duality. In feeling, there is duality. In sensing, there is duality. In movement, there is duality. But in the sex center, there is no duality, right? So we can separate from all the other centers by separate from thought, we can separate from emotion and witness them. We cannot witness the sex. We have to dissolve our form into the sex and come out of it and recreate the form. And this is what happened when we saw yesterday that from Radhe Krishna she moved into Radhe Shyam. Form disappeared, and then again to play the drama of life, form reappears. But it is a regeneration, a transmutation. It is no longer the sex energy. It has become a very high, different energy. So there is no Dvait in sex energy. It is the primary form of Advait is sex energy.
Sorry, one quick. Yeah. On that, can we say that the soul has merged with the spirit for that moment and then has come back?
Yeah, we can say that. In deep sleep, also the soul merges with the spirit, only we are not aware of it. Now, Kans had invited them for the Dhanur Yagya, the bow, what do you call, ritual, right? And so the two boys now, after meeting Kubja, they go to the hall where the Shiva's bow was kept. Shiva's bow was kept. Please understand the bow is that which controls attention, the arrow is attention, the bow is also the backbone, right? So all this is very symbolic over here. The bow was in the hall and it was protected by a large number of Kamsa's guards. The boys asked the guards that we would like to see the bow, and the boys, they went and this. Now the bow was large and it was full of ornaments, full of precious stones, and very heavy. Krishna just picked it up very easily, and he strung the bow. And when he picked it up, the guards tried to attack him. Okay, you're not allowed to pick up this bow, and Balram got rid of the guards. And with the strength with which he tied the bow, he picked it up with his left hand, when with the right hand he was tying the knot on the bow, and the bow broke. And the bow broke in the middle. And it made a terrible sound. And that sound could be heard for miles in all directions. Right? And Kamsa was in his palace at that time. He heard this sound. He knew it was the breaking of the bow. And suddenly he felt very frightened. The meaning of the word Kans, to tremble, kampantau, and he started trembling in fear when he heard that sound of the bow breaking. All the guards attacked Krishna and Balram, and they picked each one and they killed the guards. And the news reaches Kans that all the guards have died. But he was in shock. He was not worried about the guards dying. He was wondering how the boy could even lift the bow. It was way beyond him that the boy could lift the bow. He couldn't rest. He couldn't sleep. The next stage, like we have one plan does not work. What is the second plan?
Plan B.
Huh?
Plan B.
Plan B was to send his wrestlers. So he was now hoping his plan B would work, and he had arranged a wrestling contest. His two wrestlers, Chanur and Mushtik, two wrestlers. Krishna, Balram, and all the Gopas had come from Vrindavan and Gokul, and the whole group of them went to sleep in Kamsa's gardens. Right here, they were sleeping so soundly and so beautifully, and their Kamsa could not sleep at all throughout the night. Now, by morning, Kans started getting different omens. I'm just going into all this. I don't know if you're interested. Something inauspicious was bound to happen. Something was bound to happen. So in the morning, he got up and he looked at his face in the mirror. He could not see a face. He only saw his body. The reflection in the mirror did not have a head. And his body was as if it had all strange holes in the body. Suddenly he started seeing two images of himself, as if you're seeing two moons. And when you start seeing two images of yourself, you know death is coming closer. One breath would be taken by one image, one breath would be taken by himself. If he's speaking, one word would be said by him, one word would be said by the image. He saw that as he was walking on the earth, no footprints were left on the earth. That is, he has seen his double. And when you see your double, it is usually 3-4 days that death is round the corner. And it creates a big confusion inside. Many times this double comes to us before we are going to contract a very major disease or something. So it could be the invitation for an illness, something evil is about to happen, and we see what is called our twin. Now try to understand this. Uh, in the Hindu terminology, the Hindu system, the god of death is called Yam, right? Yam means a twin. Yam means a twin. So when you're seeing your own twin, that is now the energy of Yam is now, round the corner, coming round the corner. And that twin has our own voice, our own breathing, our own footsteps. Even the smell from the body of the twin is exactly our own smell. On the third day, after the boys had come to Mathura, everybody gathered in the big stadium to watch the wrestling match, which the boys, he had invited them for the wrestling match. And Krishna remembers Narada's words. Okay, I see everyone gathering to see you take part in the wrestling match. And Narada had told him few days before. Now here there are some contradictions in the Bhagavad, because here it is said that Devki was sitting in a place which was meant for commoners, where the common people were sitting. So all the stands in the wrestling match were divided by caste, by profession, and there was the royal stand where the king would be there and his family would be there. And then there was one big stand for all the rich merchants of Mathura, right? The very rich merchants of Mathura. And then there were for all the lower caste people. And Devki, according to the Bhagavad, was sitting there. But the problem is that uh, after the wrestling match and after killing Kans, it is also said that Krishna went to the jail and freed his mother and father. So we don't really know which one is which, but it is mentioned over here that she and what do you call Vasudev, they watched the wrestling match. And she was very, very frightened for her son. She thought, because Chanur, the word Chanur means a heap, right? A heap. Uh, but it is a heap which is, what do you call, which comes together by gathering small, small pieces, right? એટલે we say, in Gujarati, we say, Pakshi chane છે, right? એટલે the bird eats a small thing, but when the bird gathers that whole thing, it turns into a whole heap, right? So Chanur had gathered his anger over by, killing, what do you call, very, very ordinary people, by killing, being cruel to ordinary people. And that inner cruelty had gathered into a huge heap inside him, a huge, what do you call, mountain of anger. But he had gathered it in small pieces. Chanta Chanta, he had gathered it, right? So that is why his name was Chanur. So Devki thought her son was going to die. This mountain of a, what do you call, person is going to battle with him. Mushtik was going to battle with Balram. Now, in the royal stand and in the merchant stand, there were beautiful drinks, beautiful girls serving them. There were, what do you call, not only drinks, but excellent food was being served. There was a huge band playing and the music was playing, and everything, the whole town was in this thing of celebration. And in that, Kans entered the, what do you call, stadium, and he came on his favorite elephant. He was wearing a white dress which was shining. It was shining with leather. And on that he was wearing a huge white crown which was shining with, what do you call, gems. He had a walk like a lion, and he came with this dynamic walk of his like a lion and took his seat there. And then came Krishna and Balram entered the stadium, and the people of what you call Mathura, they shouted out in joy when the two brothers entered the stadium. Now, at the entrance, Kans had arranged his favorite elephant to kill the two boys. Now, there are two stories over here. One is that the children kill the elephant. The other is that the Mahat of the elephant, his name was Ambishta, and he was a divorced husband of Kubja. And because the night had passed, Kubja knew that this elephant would kill Krishna. So she was an expert in herbs and she was an what do you call jadi booty expert, right? So she creates some jadi booty and gives it to her ex-husband and tells him you feed it to the elephant, and so the elephant is in a kind of trance. There are two stories over here. So in that the elephant bows down to Krishna, but the normal story is that Krishna kills the elephant. So the elephant attacks Krishna, and elephant is a symbol of stability. So and it is also the symbol of the Muladhar chakra, right? So Muladhar is stability, and so by killing the elephant, he's showing that all his inner centers, his inner organs are in rhythm, balance, and harmony. But even when the elephant is attacking Krishna, Kans is trembling with fear. Now, when an elephant attacks someone, the first thing it does, it puts its trunk in its mouth and then it attacks. So, the killing of the elephant symbolizes the removal of all the obstacles. Elephant was the mount of kings, so it shows that Kansa's power is now over. It shows the transformation from sansar to the spiritual, and it shows the destruction of all the patterns, all the sanskars in the subconscious mind. It opens up our inner vivek capacity. So as the elephant ran into the arena, trumpeting loudly, there was unrest in the crowd, but Krishna was very stable. He jumped high in the air and pulled the trunk first out of his mouth. Then he left the trunk and he caught the teeth. Teeth symbolize the animal within us, our anger, our aggression, and how we rise above anger and aggression. Teeth are associated with sex energy, animal sex energy, because people bite in sex, and that is rising above the what you call inner animal, right, by killing the elephant. At the same time that Krishna caught the teeth, Balram catches the tail. So, and he beats up the Mahat so badly that he runs away. The tail symbolizes speed, strength, and communication. Now the elephant was out of control. It caught Krishna in his trunk and it is about to, what do you call, push him to the ground when he hits the elephant, right? And the elephant releases him and he starts teasing the elephant by running under the elephant and running back under the elephant, and the elephant gets more and more mad as he keeps on doing this. Elephants have weak eyes, and so with this fast movement of the two brothers under the elephant going in front of him, teasing the elephant, slowly it starts losing all its energy. And then it runs at them madly and it falls over. Krishna picks out a tooth of the elephant, jumps on the neck, and at the Kumbhasthal, it what do you call, stabs the elephant. The eyes, ears come out, and he keeps on stabbing till the elephant hits the ground and is totally dead. And of course, Kans could not believe that his favorite elephant had died. Now, Kans was very sure in the beginning that these boys will not pose a problem to him. So he had kept his personal guard in Mathura, but his army was outside Mathura. And this was the big mistake which he made at that time. Now, after killing the elephant, the boy started killing the personal guards one by one. And the Bhagavad says that here Kans realized that his Kal had come. As if the Kamdev, the friend of the people, had come to save the people from the atrocities of Kans. When he killed the elephant, Devaki, who had lost all 32 of her teeth, suddenly new teeth came into her mouth and she felt as she had become young again. The people all over the stadium, they started singing songs in praise of Krishna. And they all became very mad in that singing over there. Kans could not believe what he saw. He sent his two wrestlers, Chanur and against Krishna and Mushtik against Balram. The whole crowd started shouting that this is totally unfair. This is against all the rules of wrestling. These are two boys and these are two mountains you are sending to the boys. And Chanur was known for breaking all the rules of wrestling. He had killed many people in unfair fights, and that is why he had gathered that heap of aggression inside of him. He and Krishna attacked each other like wild elephants, right? They were fist fighting. There was fighting with the legs. There was fighting by banging each other's head. They were pushing each other to the ground, right? And they were trying to wring each other's necks. The fighting went on for so much time that the smell of their perspiration filled the whole stadium over there. People got excited and started cheering like anything. Kans himself was very excited. He thought that just now his wrestler is going to kill Krishna. He thought Krishna's end has come. Instead of sitting on his throne, he got up and he was so sure that it was going to happen. He told the musicians to stop playing and he thought the next moment Krishna is going to be killed. But his excitement was short lived. As Chanur bent down to pick up Krishna and throw him out of that ring, Krishna hit him with both his hands, a terrible blow to the head. At the same time, he kicked him so hard on the chest that the kick was so hard that the whole stadium trembled. Kans was so shocked with that trembling of the kick which Krishna gave that his crown fell down from his head. The mugut fell down. Chanur was stunned. His eyes came out. He crumpled to the floor, right? And made such a sound upon hitting the floor. And his bones started breaking. Krishna picked him up, spun him round several times, and banged him again on the floor. His tongue came out, and in that coming out of the tongue, his life also came out. So, sticking out the tongue is when we are annoyed, when we are in displeasure, and that tongue came out completely. The tongue protruding is because Khechri Mudra is for long life. The loss of the tongue is the end of life. Right? And we use the tongue to corrupt other people, to hypnotize other people, suggestibility to other people, and all that. So, in that way, the tongue is also the devil or shaitan, and that tongue came out. At the same time, Balram was fighting Mushti and he also kills Mushti. Other than all the wrestlers who were a part of the Akhada, they all attacked the two brothers together. The brothers killed a few of them, and then the others ran away, and they didn't want to get killed by the brothers. But all the Govalyas who had come from what do you call uh, Gokul and Vrindavan, they started jumping and shouting and they started cheering the two boys. Many of them came into the ring and started lifting the boys and what do you call cheering the boys. The music which Kans had stopped started playing again. Kans could not stand this. All his plans to kill Krishna had failed. His face was full of deep rejection as if he had lost everything. His white clothes were full of his perspiration. The fact when he saw his wrestlers, because they were all his friends, his only friends was from the wrestling, what do you call, group. He never had any other friends. And when he saw all of them running away, betraying him, right, when from the two boys, he couldn't believe it. He asked the music to be stopped. Again, he made the music stop again. And then he gives an order to his army that attack Krishna and Balram and throw them out of Mathura. But he had not brought his army over there. All his personal guards were there. And so he sends this order, but there's no one to fulfill the order. And that moment of emptiness, where there was no one left to fulfill the order of the king could not imagine that it would, he would be in such a situation where he's giving the order and there's no one to fulfill that order. That emptiness came in. And in that emptiness, he was so shocked in that moment that in that shock, he could not believe it that his orders were not being fulfilled. And in that, there was a sudden silence throughout the stadium because he had given this order. People thought his army would come, but his army was not there and they could not come. And Krishna realized that in this moment of shock was the one moment, if he lost the moment, then he would not be able to kill Kans. Now, in all of us, there is a chief weakness. And at certain times in our sadhana, in our what you call inner progress, that chief weakness, we can see it. But if we don't use that moment and attack the chief weakness inside, it will again change its form. And here Krishna realized that if he doesn't attack Kans now, then Kans may go into hiding and change his form. So he jumps high in the air and reaches the exact point where Kans is standing. The feat looked impossible to all those around. Of course, in the movies, Indian movies, Amitabh Bachchan does it, but here it looked like it was impossible. Kans thought that something had fallen from the sky. He could not imagine Krishna jumping up over there. He thought something had fallen from the sky. And for a moment he thought one of his ornaments had fallen down, the crown also had fallen down. And in that moment of the crown falling down, his hair opened up and covered his face. He could not see properly at that moment. Krishna immediately caught his hair. He could not do anything. He could not call for help. He could not see because the hair was covering his face. And from that high post, he pushed Kans down and he jumped down upon him. Upon Kans hitting the ground and Krishna jumping upon him, the life of Kans got over, the life went out of him. But Krishna did not stop there. He kept on hitting him. He kept on pushing his nails into Kansa's neck till all his eyes and his flesh and his things protruded out. He then dragged the body throughout the stadium making marks, and all the what you call Gopalas came and they were together in that victory march dragging Kansa's body round the stadium. It is in this moment that the cowherd Krishna had become the king Krishna. He had become the virtual king of Mathura. He had defeated Kansa, but he didn't keep the kingdom. He gave it back to Ugrasen. Huh? So, I mean, this is the story of what you call the death of Kans, right? Uh, Tomorrow we will take the story of Krishna's death, but it's a very small story, so we may take one more incident, maybe the killing of Kalya Nag tomorrow. Right? Somebody had suggested to take up Sudama, but I'm not finding the deeper, what you call, meaning of the word Sudama, and also the symbolic, what you call, meanings hidden in that story. So I won't be able to take this up this time. But tomorrow we'll take up Kali, the killing of Kalyanag, and then the death of Krishna. Any questions anyone wants to ask? Yeah, no questions.
No questions.
Right. Good. No questions. No questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Uh, in the part where we're discussing about fate, destiny, and fortune, uh, in fate, we've said that it's a predestined events that are invited by the soul.
So the soul has a covering of sanskars.
Yes.
The soul wants to be free of those sanskars.
Yes.
So it doesn't invite a particular event, it invites a spectrum of events which allows the soul to be free of those sanskars.
Got it.
But then the ego comes in. And the ego does not want freedom. The ego wants shanti, peace, comfort, happiness, pleasure. Right? The soul wants freedom and it is willing to suffer for that freedom. Can you get it? So the ego wants to change the events. It wants to bring peace by changing the event, while the soul wants freedom by rising above the event. Right? So that is, I don't know.
In this, one more thing that uh, we've also discussed in the past is that if we, let's say, we have our soul has a lot of anger, it wants to get free from that anger. If there is a particular event that is going to make us angry, we let a pattern come out from the subconscious, but we don't react. So the amount of anger in our subconscious reduces,
Right.
and this will change the events that will come in our lives.
Right. Because now that event is not necessary. You're free from that. So the invitation to events will change.
So in a way, we've now been able to, because of this, we've been able to change our fate by
We change fate. Fate changes. So consciousness changes fate. Right.
And just a follow up on that is that, but Krishna was at a state where he could have changed his fate, but he accepted the fate that was given to him by the universe.
Yeah. He, you see, in both the Ramayana and the Krishna Leela, there is acceptance of that fate. They don't want to change the fate. Don't want to change the fate. Right? There is acceptance of that fate. Right? And so he accepted all the events, but in each event he brought out the path of dharma, whether by saying a lie, whether by cunningness, right? But he used even negative qualities to bring out the path of dharma. That the aim was to rise in consciousness. See, Mr. Tavaria used to just predict events just like that. So one day I asked him that You are, the way you are predicting events, you know, why don't you tell me the exact moment of your death? So I know that you're going, this is, so he says, I will look into all events, but I will not look into when I'm going to die, right? But whenever that moment comes, I'm totally ready for it. So there's a difference in knowing when you're going to die and be ready for it, and not knowing and be ready for it. It's a totally different state of yoga. Totally, right? So in that way, he just accepted all the events, whatever were to come. The deep acceptance is there. Yeah.
Uh, there is two questions online. Uh, Sir, what is the deeper significance of Dhanur? What does it signify? What is the difference between the Dhanur that is Mahabharat, Ramayana, and here in Krishna's story?
What is the difference, please?
What is the difference
See,
between the
Dhanur, we
Dhanur?
said it symbolizes the backbone, and the string of the Dhanur is the Vajranadi, and the arrow is attention. That is the significance of the Dhanur, right? So the arrow attention goes out, right? But the arrow is pulled, controlled by something called the Vajranadi inside. And the Vajranadi is a part of the string of the backbone. The backbone is the, what do you call, the bow itself, right?
And he's asking, Ratanshi Premji is his name. He's asking, is there a difference between the Dhanush that is there in Mahabharat, which that is there in Ramayan, which Ram breaks, and here in Krishna's story?
So in all there is a significance of breaking the bow, right? That is penetrating the Sushumna Nadi and having total control over attention. Right? In all of them there is the same thing.
There's a question from Preeti Solanki. Pranam sir, how to understand the character of Narad?
I think I talked about Narada a few days ago. Was she there or she was not online at that time? Right.
Yeah. We have again question from Karan asking what is the symbolic meaning behind the friendship between Lord Krishna and Sudama.
Yeah, but that story is in an appendix. It's not in the Bhagavad itself. So they have not put too much importance to that story, right? So we don't know the deeper symbolic meanings of each thing to really go into that story. So maybe someday when I'm able to study it, I'll go into it. But it's not that important because it is in an appendix. I don't know why he keeps on asking the same question. I just written a note on Narad, which I did. Huh? Yeah, but then I wrote another one today. I didn't talk about it, but I, uh, I saw it here and then I just went over it. I said I've talked about it already.
Point 40, sorry, point 43, I think.
Huh?
Point 43.
43.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at 60. So a deeper meaning of the word nar means to lead, right? But so we have the word Narayan, the one who takes you in a specific direction, Narayan, right? Nar samune nicheti kape, the one who creates conflict for the path of dharma, right? The one who creates conflict for the path of dharma. His aim is to lead you to the path of dharma, but he doesn't lead you, what do you call, directly to the path of dharma. He'll create situations of conflict where somebody will fight with each other, and the what do you call, and that brings you back to the એટલે નરને જે ધર્મ આપે, the one who gives dharma to Nar is the human being, right? Is Narada. So Narada is that which takes you back to the path of dharma, but he doesn't take you easily back to the path of dharma. He creates all kinds of conflict, but out of that conflict you come back to the path of dharma, right? Okay. We'll stop here. Chalo, thank you. Good night. Tomorrow